Hi guys, this is Eco Final required course questions. I don't know what. Basically, we have all these required, but the ones I scratched out are because we did them in the periodic. Okay, and that video was posted November 2nd, November 3rd, sometime around then. You can find that video on my channel. Now, let's start chapter 1, question 22 over here. Countries, sorry, is my mic? Okay, I think my mic's good now. Countries A and B produce pizza and chips. Each month, country A can produce on its own. Can my chair stop? Okay. Each month, country A can produce on its own either 30 pizzas and no chips, or 50 packs of chips and no pizzas, or any combination in between. Each month, country B can produce 40 or 50. Assume that the PPCs are straight lines. Draw one diagram to show the monthly PPC by the two countries. Okay, we're gonna do how I used to do it last time, and I'm gonna take all of these to open board. Okay. فنحن they're telling us to draw a PPC. أول شيء I'm gonna start by doing obviously the graph هيك وهيك. Alright, now when you want to draw a PPC, you always have to label the two goods that you are comparing. Okay, if we're talking about pizza and chips, let's, I don't know, you can put any axis, whatever you want. If you want this one to be chips and that one pizza, it doesn't matter. For the sake of, you know, it doesn't, like, the order doesn't really matter. I'll just put pizza here and chips here. Okay, so you gotta label these axes, and then obviously you have to number it. So country A has 30 and 30 pizzas, country B under 40 pizzas. Let's just label this 10, 20, 30, 40. So we're gonna put the 40 up here, the 30 here, the 20 here, and the 10 here. And the chips, it's 50 packs of chips for both. So we'll just put 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Alright, now for country A, country A عنده 30 pizzas and 50 chips. So we're gonna put this here and this here. I'll label this as 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Alright, now let's connect it for country A. Alright, oh, that's a bit bad. Alright, like that. We're gonna label this one as A. And then for B, B is producing 40 pizzas and 50 chips. 40 pizzas and 50 chips. We'll draw it just like this. Very easy. As you can see here, this is the answer. Oh, akid, also I have to label B. I didn't label country B. I have to say this is B. Okay. If you want, like, indicate it with like a small arrow, if you want, that's fine. Or if you want, like, put a key. A is dotted or something. I don't know, whatever you want. As long as you have something like this, okay? Then part B, which country has the comparative advantage in the production of chips? Which country has the comparative advantage in the production of pizza? So this is very easy. I'm going to give you the formula really quickly. How I like to do this is, especially when working with this stuff, I like to, like, make a table, okay? If I do this, pot country A, country B, alright, and then I label the table. I separate it into two categories, pizza and chips. Alright, now A has how many pizzas? 30, B has 40 pizzas, they both have 50 chips. Okay, now here's how I do it, because the table really helps you see everything really clearly. Okay, and now you can put this. Whenever they're saying comparative advantage, the one that has comparative advantage, always remember that. Okay, the one with comparative advantage, yani they want the one with lower opportunity cost. Okay, how do you calculate opportunity cost for any specific trade-off between two goods? Simply like this. We're talking about the production of chips. So which one has a lower opportunity cost for one chip? So you do this. This is how I like to write it. For country A, how much is the opportunity cost for one chip? You say one chip equals, you always, if you're calculating opportunity cost for chips, that means when you divide now, chips is down. Okay, that's the rule. Okay, that's how I remember it. You can do whatever you want, but that's how I memorized it. Okay, one chip, you divide these two numbers, but which one goes up, which one goes down? Like I told you, if you're calculating opportunity cost for chips, then chips goes down. Okay, so 30 over 50, and you get 0.6. That means one chip is 0.6 pizza. Now how about for B? How much is one chip? You do the same thing. Alright, one chip, same rule. You do 40 divided by 50, and that's 0.8 pizza. So that means that for A, every time he's producing one chip, it's costing him 0.6 pizzas, and for B, every time he's producing one chip, it's costing him 0.8 pizzas. So who does it cost less to produce chips? A. So who's going to produce the chips? A. Okay, so who's going to have the comparative advantage in the production of chips? A. Alright? just like that. Now, which country has comparative advantage in the production of pizza? Now, for the production of pizza, usually if you have comparative advantage in one good, you can't have it in the other good. Okay, so take it in هيك as a really quick note. But it's not sufficient in your written part just to say, oh, since A has the, I'm gonna put like a nice here, A has comparative advantage in chips. You can't just say since A has comparative advantage in chips, meaning B will be the one for pizza. No, that's not how it works. You actually have to calculate it. Alright, now since we said explain your answer, you have to show, since 0.6 less than 0.8, the opportunity cost for production of chips in A is less. Alright, now how about for the production of pizza? Let's do the same steps. Now production of pizza, same thing, but how do you do it? One pizza, same thing, equals what? For chips, we put chips on the bottom. Same thing hella for pizza. Since we're calculating for pizza, you put pizza on the bottom, okay? That's gonna be 50 over 30, which is 1.67 chips. Okay? How about for B? How much is the opportunity cost for one pizza? One pizza is equal to what? 50 divided by 40. Always, the thing you're calculating is going to be your denominator, okay? 50 over 40, which is 1.25 chips. So who has the lower opportunity cost? B. So you say B has comparative advantage, I'll just put CA, in pizza because 1.25 less than 1.67, meaning the opportunity cost, same thing as here, for production of pizza in B is less. Okay, I'm just gonna copy that down here. But instead of chips you put pizza, instead of A you put B. Alright, I hope that makes sense. Alright, now which country has absolute advantage in the production of chips? Which country has the absolute advantage in the production of pizza? Now, before we go to part C, I just want to see if the explanation that we put is correct. Where's the solution? Okay, this we did the calculation. Country A, since it produces chips at lower opportunity cost, B has comparative advantage in producing pizza. Alright, now for part C, which country has absolute advantage in the production of chips? Absolute advantage meaning you produce more. Okay, now if you look at our table over here, which one produces more chips? Neither. They both produce the same amount. So you say this, okay, for part C, I'm going to put it down here. Part C, they produce same amount of chips, therefore there is no absolute advantage. How about pizza? Who produces more pizzas? B. So you say since B produces more pizzas, it has absolute advantage in the production of pizza. Now here's the thing, you need to know the difference between comparative advantage and absolute advantage. Comparative, you look at the opportunity cost, you have to calculate it the same way I did it here in part B. Absolute advantage, you simply look at which one is a higher number. Okay, very easy guys. Now part D, let's see, is that what they put here? Neither A or B have an absolute advantage because they both produce the same amount. However, B has absolute advantage in producing pizzas. Again, if they tell you explain, you simply say 40 is bigger than 30. Now, part D, assume that country B discovers a new technique for making chips that doubles the quantity of chips that the country can produce each month. Draw a graph to show the old and new PPCs for country B. So, the old PPC for country B was like this. Yani wait, before we go down. They're saying that the chips doubled. So now for country B, instead of 50, how many do we have? We have 100 chips, okay? So like add that to your small table or whatever. Or like, write a note. So, the person correcting knows what's happening. So draw a graph to show the old and new PPC for country B. So yalla, I'll put part D. This is how the graph will look. Hek. Then hek. To show the old and new PPC, yeah? The old one وصلت على 50. لا خلينا ننزل ال 50 because now we're gonna go up to 100. فI'll put 50 over here. I'll put 50 here and 100 over here. لا I had the pizza up. Sorry. Let's label the graph before putting any numbers. We had pizza on top and we had chips down. Okay, البيتزا وصلت, how many pizzas did B produce? 40. So we're gonna put it on 40. والchips on, let's say like the 50 is over here, and then 100 over here. So let's draw the PPCs. Simply, all you have to do is just connect the dots. Okay, so the old one is from here to 50. The new one is from here to 100. Or you can simply call this like B, هيدي B2. Okay, B B1, B2. Let's take a look. How did they solve this? They said the same thing. Yeah, but they put old PPC, new PPC. عادي يا أخي, it doesn't matter. As long as you label it properly, that's completely fine. Now, what did they say? Part double I. After this innovation, which country will have an absolute advantage in producing chips? Obviously now, since B is producing 100 instead of 50, who has the absolute advantage producing chips? Remember, absolute advantage means you're producing more of that thing, more of that item. Who's producing more chips now? Obviously, it's the B. It's producing 100. Which country will have comparative advantage in producing pizzas? Explain your answer. Which country will have comparative advantage in producing pizzas? Same thing, you have to just solve it again. You do the same thing. One pizza, and you have to do it for each country. For, let's say, for A. One pizza, how do you calculate the opportunity cost for pizza? Because now we're saying comparative advantage, but you have to get the opportunity cost. For A, how do you get the one pizza opportunity cost? You divide. Remember, if you're calculating pizzas, then pizza is in the denominator. So 50 over 30, which is 1.67, 1.67 chips. Then هلا for B, you do the same thing, but instead of using the old 50, we're now using 100 for the chips, okay? For one pizza is equal to, same thing, you're dividing always. If you're calculating opportunity cost for pizzas, then pizzas goes in the denominator. So you take 100 over 40, and you get 2.5 chips. Now, who has the lower opportunity cost in the production of pizzas? Now it's A. So over here, which country will have a comparative advantage producing pizzas? You're gonna say country A, because 1.67 is less than 2.5, therefore lower opportunity cost. Lower opportunity cost. I think, guys, this is easy. Let's see the answer. What did they say? Country B now has absolute advantage, we said this, and country A has comparative in pizzas because it can produce one pizza at lower opportunity cost, and these are the opportunity costs that we calculated, the 1.67 and the 2.5, صح? Okay, very easy. Let's cross out question 22. On to the next one. هلا 26. inshallah it's something هيك chill. This is not chill, bro. Alright, so I took a small break. Anyways, these are the PPCs of two countries, A and B, and this is actually a pretty chill question. They're not really asking for much, just what's the absolute, what's the comparative, I don't know what. Over here, this was actually like the first periodic, almost the same exact thing. But yalla, the PPCs of two countries, A and B, are represented in the graph to show the combinations of bags and machines. Okay, identify the country that has absolute advantage in the production of bags. So who produces more bags? Take a look. Country B is the one producing 50 bags, where country A is only producing 10. So akid it's gonna be, and just put B. Now absolute advantage in machines, you go to machines, who's producing higher machines? Kaman country B, so it's gonna be B as well. Which one has a comparative advantage in producing bags? So this is how you do it. You do it for each country specifically. So for A, and you calculate the opportunity cost. So one bag equals what? So for A, if you want, we can draw the table. Okay, let's do A, B, and then put bags, and then machines, so we can properly see what's going on. You don't have to, but it's a nice step to do. So for country A, he has 10 bags or 30 machines. Country B has 50 bags or 50 machines. Alright, so for country A, if you want to calculate the opportunity cost for one bag, remember, if you're calculating the opportunity cost for bag, so it goes in the denominator. So 10 is down, 30 is up. So 30 over 10 is 3, so one bag is equal to 3 what? Machines. Alright, and then for B, same thing, one bag, again it has to go in the denominator, so it's going to be 50 over 50 equals one machine. Alright, so I did one machine. Hello, so you have 3 machines, one machine. Who has the lower opportunity cost for the bags? Actually, it's going to be country B. So who has a comparative advantage in the bags? It's B. Assuming, by the way, what's it called? Put an explanation, huh? Like for each one, like say because B produces the most bags, because B produces the most machines, and here you could put since 1 is less than 3, so it has a lower opportunity cost. Okay, say yap a bit. Assuming trade occurs, which country will import the machines? So the one that's gonna import the machines is the one that won't produce it. Okay, so over here, who has the comparative advantage in producing bags? It's B. Now, hello, they're talking about machines. The one who's gonna import machines is the one who doesn't have comparative advantage. Who doesn't have the comparative advantage. How can we check who has the comparative advantage for machines? Let's do it again. For A, 1 machine equals 10 over 30. Again, because if you want machines, so machines goes in the denominator, which is 0.33 bags. Then for B, 1 machine equals 50 over 50, which is 1 bag. So you say that B, you say that 1 is greater than 3, therefore 0.30. So 1 is greater than 0.33. Therefore, since B has a greater opportunity cost for producing machines, that means that he's not going to be the one who's going to produce it. He's actually going to be the one who imports it from A. The one who specializes in the certain product is the one who has the comparative advantage in producing that certain product. Obviously, who's going to produce the good? The one who produces it for a cheaper price. And for we don't really say cheaper price, we say with a cheaper opportunity cost, okay? So therefore here, since A has a lower opportunity cost, he's going to be the one producing it, and he's going to be the one exporting it. So who's going to be the one importing it? B, okay? Since A is exporting it, B is going to be the one importing it. So who's going to import machines? It's going to be B. Determine favorable terms of trade between the two countries. Alright, all you have to do is this. Now in the periodic we did this, like let's say we'll do it for machines and then we'll do it for bags. For bags, okay, anything in between 1 and 3, right? So 1, x, 3, and you put machines. Now, this will not get you the mark. You have to say, you have to give a number in between 1 and 3, like 2 machines. Okay, this will get you a mark. How about if they said 4 machines? This is the favorable terms of trade for bags. Let's say for machines. How do we do it? Between 0.33 and 1. So between 0.33 bags and 1 bag. Okay, and then you can say, like, you give an example between 0.33 and 0 and 1, like 0.67 bags. Okay, this is just a number that came to my mind, no specific reason for putting it. Anyways, this is part E. Assuming trade occurs, would the country be able to produce and consume beyond its PPC? Alright, now, if we're trading, it will not be able to produce, but it will be able to consume. Okay, always memorize it like this. Produce, consume. It will not be able to produce, however, it will be able to consume. Okay, this is how you memorize it, only consume. So let's try the answer. 126 B. So he's gonna be the one importing. Is actually the first 4 answers all B? B, yeah, actually. Okay, E, each bag should be between 1 and 3 and whatever. Alright, see how they said this? This will not get you a mark, okay? Make sure to, because I showed this to the regional, I told him, he ended up cancelling the question, okay? But he told us, and for the next exam you have to. I don't know about your teachers in your other schools, maybe it's a bit different. But anyways, the economics regional told me that, and I showed him this, he said no, you have to specify. So مثلا this step, if you don't put it, he was gonna, deduct marks for all of us in the last written part, because I did a couple of complaints, and he ended up cancelling the mark, he ended up giving it to everyone. But please, in the next periodic, make sure you put this example, okay? You have to put the example. Well, part F, it failed to produce, however it can consume, okay? Always produce no, consume yes, okay? خلصنا هيك chapter 1. So hello, we're gonna go chapter 2, question 16. وين 16? Okay, what is the definition of a market shortage and a market surplus? I'm just gonna give this to you cash. Take the definition from the solution. وين 16? Alright, a market shortage occurs when there's a disequilibrium and as the price is set below the market clearing price. This results in a higher quantity demanded than supplied. Consequently, queuing and rationing occur and prices should be raised to restore equilibrium. Opposite to this, a surplus occurs when there is a price floor above equilibrium. This requires reducing prices to restore equilibrium. So basically, memorize it like this. Market shortage prices are below equilibrium. And if prices below equilibrium, think about it like this: هاي aggregate demand, هاي aggregate supply. If you decrease prices, يعني انت هلا you're going here there is an excess in demand now, صح? If there's an excess in demand, لا, excess in supply. Wait. Okay, yeah, excess in demand if you have a lower price now. 1 second. Hey, this is an excess in demand now. Excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. If there's an excess in demand, that means people are gonna fight for the product, so therefore we're gonna say that there's queuing, and people are queuing up and rationing. This happened in Lebanon in 2022 and 2021 when the economic crisis hit Lebanon, and basically we had a market shortage of fuel and petrol. So if you wanted to fuel your gas, if you wanted to fuel your car up with gas, you'd actually have to wait hours and queue for gas. Okay. Anyways, that's market shortage. Market surplus is the opposite, when prices are above equilibrium, something like this. Alright, now when prices are above equilibrium, that means there's an excess in supply, and to fix that, to correct it, you must reduce the price. Okay, so very easy. Just know that shortage is when prices are below equilibrium, surplus is when prices are above. To correct a shortage, you increase prices. To correct surplus, you decrease prices. Okay, 16 done. Yalla, 12, chapter 3. Which transactions must be recorded when calculating a country's GDP and which ones must be excluded? Simply, it's a country's GDP. If you're buying a car that's produced in Japan, but you're in America, you're buying a Japanese car, it's not going to be included in the GDP of America because it was produced in Japan. That's simply how you think about it. Second, things that are produced, let's say you're buying a house that was built 10 years ago. Will it be included of the GDP of this year or the GDP of 10 years ago? It will be included in the GDP of 10 years ago because when was it produced? You think about when was it produced, where was it produced? This house was produced 10 years ago, so it will be included in the GDP of 10 years ago. 2015, not today, 2025. You get what I mean? Let me open the solution for you. Maybe it's different, but I'm pretty sure that's what the answer is. So when you calculate the GDP, there's akid ways to calculate it. You can sum up the value of each stage of production, or we take the monetary value of all goods, whatever. It has to be within the borders of the country during a specific period of time. You do not use the value of total sales, whatever, to measure how much output. GDP does not count transactions in which money or goods changes hands, but in which no new goods and services are produced. Yeah, so money changes hands, you just don't count it. The main two that are asked are within the borders of the country during a specific period of time. These two, pay attention to them, okay? Like 13, I don't know if we have it, but I want to do it for you, just to show you. Where would the production of a foreign company operating in another country be recorded? Simply, okay, wherever it's being produced. Think about it like that. Don't memorize. GDP is output. It's to measure output, okay? So when you want to think about if it's getting added to GDP or not, you think, where is it being produced? When is it being produced? If, مثلا, Nestle is a Swiss company or a French company, I don't know, it's operating, it has many factories in Lebanon, okay? The factories are in Lebanon. They're producing water bottles, they're producing cream, they're producing, I don't know what you want to say, chocolate in Lebanon. But the company is a Swiss company, or I don't know. Let's check. What country is Nestle from? I think French, yeah? Switzerland. Okay. Anyways, Nestle is a Swiss company operating in Lebanon. Okay, cool. If it's operating in Lebanon, that's fine. But where is it producing? If you're importing water bottles from Switzerland, that means the water bottles were produced in Switzerland, and that means that the GDP will be counted as a Swiss GDP. However, if you're producing those water bottles in Lebanon, you're producing whatever inside Lebanon, since it's being produced in Lebanon, that means the GDP is gonna get added to Lebanon's GDP. Okay? So I just wanted to show you this question 13, okay? And then what are the limitations to the nominal GDP? This always comes every single exam, okay? Look at these and pause, memorize them. I'll read them out for you. Alright? The limitations, أول شيء, you cannot include black market, okay? If you're selling any tickets under the radar, it won't be affected. If you're buying illegal items, كمان it's not gonna account to the GDP. it does not count non-market activities. يعني انت اذا مثلا you're selling a product and you don't have a market license, I don't know, you're selling cookies, you're baking cookies in your house and you're selling them to people in your school, that's not going to be counted to the GDP because one, you do not have a market license, and two, it's not being recorded properly. Okay, this is a non-market activity. Okay, it fails to reflect the quality of life and the standard of living. You only look at output. When you're looking at output, it doesn't really see like, is that output happening? Are workers being starved? It doesn't really say that. It just shows output, right? GDP, gross domestic product. It ignores the negative externalities. Are we polluting the environment when producing this bag of chips? I don't know. It does not look at that. It only looks at the output. It does not show how the output is distributed. It only looks at the final value. It doesn't say, oh, مثلا in this area you have certain GDP, in this area you don't have it takes the total. يعني مثلا, let's say there's a city, let's look at the United States. I'll look at Lebanon actually, because I don't want to say things in America because I don't know much, but I know about my own country. Let's say you're looking at Beirut and you're looking at another poorer city, like, I don't know, Trablus. Okay, between these two, we look at the GDP. When analyzing Lebanon, we look at the GDP of Lebanon as a whole. We don't look at the GDP of Beirut and the GDP of Trablus and the GDP of Sur, the GDP of Saida. We don't care about all this. Now, since Trablus is a bit of a poorer state than Beirut, it's gonna have a lower GDP. But do we look at how it's distributed? No. And when I look at Lebanon, I look at Lebanon as a whole. If I don't see, in Beirut it's higher than a different city, I don't care. Okay, so that's why we say it does not show how the output is distributed. Okay, let's look at we just did question 15. حلو. يلا هلا chapter 4, question 10, question 12. How is the labor force participation rate calculated? This is very easy, guys. LFPR, you calculate it by looking at the number of people in the labor force over the total people. So the labor force participation rate measures the active workforce. It's the sum of those employed and unemployed divided by the total non-institutionalized or civilian working age population. For example, the total population is 100,000. Okay, 10,000 are unemployed, 50,000 being employed, and 15,000 being children. The total labor force participation rate would be 50 plus 10 over 85. How do you do this? The formula is as follows. LFPR, I'll put it like this. LFPR equals the labor force divided by the number of individuals in the working age. Well, let's remind you, the labor force represents the people who are employed and unemployed. And to be counted as unemployed, you must either be actively seeking a job or unable to find work. Alright? Remember that, okay? Look at the good question here. Aluna that the unemployed is 10,000. The employed is 50,000. The labor force is the sum of employed and unemployed. So that's why I did 10 plus 50, 50 plus 10. And then number of individuals working age. They gave me 100,000 is the total population, but 15,000 are children. If you subtract the 15,000, you're going to get 85,000 remaining as the individuals within the working age. Okay? And Akid, you do this and you do times 100. I don't know why. You do times 100, of course, because it's a percentage. Okay, I think this is very easy. Please go over the rest of these grids. Don't skip over them. What does the labor force represent? I don't know what. Don't skip them. Okay, let's look here. Question 12. How is the unemployment rate calculated? Okay, this is so easy. It's the number of people, number of unemployed, right, over total labor force, over the total labor force times 100. What is the total labor force? It's the number of unemployed plus employed. صح? Let's take a look at question 12. The unemployment rate is a percentage. Let me go down. Of those unemployed to the labor force. For example, if the employed are 30 million and the unemployed are 10 million, the unemployment rate will be equal to 10 million, the unemployed, over the labor force. And the labor force is the sum of both employed and unemployed. Okay, and you get 25. You have to put times 100. I don't know why they're not putting times 100. Now, I want to do question 11 for you. What does labor force represent? Okay, very important. Is the number of people who belong to the working age who are either employed or actively seeking employment. So, you're a housewife, you're not seeking employment, so you're not counted as unemployed. You're simply counted as not inside the labor force. Okay, you're just part of the population. You're counted between the working age. So, you see here, it excludes military, it excludes housewives, full-time students, and retirees, because these people are not actively seeking jobs. Okay, but military, many people skip military. They think that it's actually a job, but it's not. It is a job. والله يوفق الجميع اللي بيدافع عن وطنه. But that's not my point. When you look at unemployment rate, it's not counted as a job. طيب, question 12 done. بسيطة يعني عنا question 16 و 16 هون. let's go to, what page is this? I don't know, let's go to page 30. What number is this? 16? Hey, that's not, what chapter am I on? Chapter 6. Okay, بدنا question 16. Alright, suppose that in a nation the CPI was 125 in 2011 and 133 in 2012. What was the inflation rate over this time period? If you're given CPIs and you're asked to calculate inflation rate, the inflation rate, I don't know, I'll just put inflation, is simply equal to CPI2 minus CPI1, or if you want CPI current year minus CPI base year over CPI 1 times 100. So in this case it's gonna be 2012 133 minus 2011, which is the old year, because that's the old year, yeah, over the old year, 125 times 100. Let's see, is that what they did in the answer key? Let's scroll all the way to chapter 6. Question 16 نحن. If you simply do this like we did it up here, times 100, and you should get 6.4%. Alright, suppose that the prices and the nominal GDP both doubled during this period. What would be the effect on the real output? Now, honestly, it's saying no change, but let me think about this for a sec. Now, I had to ask GPT, and this is what GPT told me. If you have any other solution, please tell me for 16b. But it basically gave me this formula that RGDP is equal to NGDP, nominal GDP, over price level. Okay, and basically if prices and the nominal GDP are both doubling, and when you're doubling the nominal GDP and the price level you're doubling it, they cancel out, so RGDP remains the same. Okay, that's the explanation it gave me. Alright, now this is the same formula, and I saw it for GDP deflator. But I think price level and GDP deflator are linked to each other. That's why. Anyways, for this is the formula. I guess if it comes in the exam, just use this. Alright. Part C. Suppose that the nominal GDP is 7,700 and the deflator is 110. What's the real GDP? I just said it. The GDP deflator formula is what? GDP deflator is equal to nominal GDP over the real GDP times 100. صح؟ فهلا they gave me the deflator is 110. They gave me nominal GDP is 7,700. The RGDP we don't know it. Okay, times 100, right? You swap the RGDP, it's math, cross multiply. We take the 110 here. You're gonna get RGDP equals 7,700 over 110 times 100. وتظبطها شوي. 7,700 over 110. Times 100 بيطلع لك 7,000. Is that correct? 7,000. Yes, so it's just the formula. Please don't forget the times 100, because the times 100, if you forget it, you're gonna get it wrong. Okay, فهلا question 16 done. حلو. Okay, I'm still recording. والصوت مسموع إن شاء الله. Question 16 هلا. Chapter 7 question. Do I have an old document? Oh I only have until page 32. It finishes at chapter 6. Well, why is that? Economics. Oh, they updated it. Let me see. Okay, see now, yeah. Now there's until 34. Okay. Yeah. So, chapter 7 is about fiscal policy and the stabilizers and stuff. It's actually quite an interesting chapter if you want to read over it. But let's do question 16. It's very easy, but he's simply saying, what's the difference between government budget deficit and surplus and the national debt, okay? Basically, I'm going to show you the solution, okay? But before I show you, think about it like this. Budget deficit is when the government spending is greater than the tax revenue. Because how does the government make money? It makes money through taxes, right? Well, how does it lose money? When it spends it, right? It could spend it on welfare checks. It could spend it on, I don't know, building a new road, or opening a public hospital, or a public school, or a public library. These are all forms of government expenditure, government spending. Now, when you have budget deficit is when you're spending more than you're earning. So that's when government spending is greater than the tax revenue. On the contrary, when you have surplus, it's when the opposite happens. Tax revenue is more than government spending. Now, what is national debt? National debt is the accumulation of the budget deficit. What does it mean? National debt, you don't look at it over 1 year. Like if you want to look at America, it actually has a huge national debt, about I think $1 trillion. I actually don't know the amount. Let's Google it. Why not? How much is the national debt of the USA? Okay. Oh, let's see this. That's $38 trillion. Okay. All right. Let's go back. I'm not gonna bother myself with that. Anyways, that's $38 trillion. That's the national debt. Now, is that in 1 year? Did they get it overnight? Did they get it in 1 year? Obviously not. National debt occurred since, I don't know, I think it was 1971 or 1976, when that's when they started counting their debt. So what does this mean? It means national debt is something that occurs and accumulates every year. So if I show you a solution now, the difference between national debt and budget deficit, it's the budget deficit accumulating over a certain period of time. So let me open the solutions. 1 second, I'm gonna cut to when it opens. Give me a sec. Over here, you see, government budget is balanced. Yeah, when is it balanced? Did they ask when it's balanced? They didn't ask when it's balanced. Alright, obviously when it's balanced is when the tax revenues are equal to the government spending. It's surplus when the tax revenues are more than the spending, or otherwise you can say it in other words, when the spending is less than the tax revenue. And it's deficit if tax revenues are not enough to meet the spending. How do we look at national debt? National debt is when the deficit accumulates, when it adds up, starts adding up. Okay, so هيك خلصنا question 16 and we're pretty much done. Thank you so much for watching and good luck in your exam.